Hi everyone, Jared here. Time for the market video update. You guys may be able to see in the bottom right hand corner there's just a little tiny picture of my face. I figured I'd throw it on here. We all work so much online and we never get to see anybody's faces, so I'm trying to open that up. Anyways, let's have a little look at what's going on in the markets here. I'll try to look at the camera as much as I can. But basically what we're going to be looking at here are some of the setups that we've got. The markets are being very, very interesting lately, as we've seen, and there's a lot of kind of chaos going on. What we'll notice right here is we've seen that the Dow turned out very positive today, about 162 points up. S&P had a good day as well. Oil is fortunately coming down just a little bit, but not quite enough. And gold is hanging in there as well. So we've had a really interesting day, and markets are still very much channeled, and they're still very much waiting on this EU summit to kind of get resolved and get to a final conclusion so that everyone can move on and start kind of having a solid direction of which way things are going. For right now, we see that we've got some Japanese news coming up, interest rates, of course, which will remain unchanged, but this is kind of a time where intervention from Japan sneaks up during these press conferences and so on, so we've got to keep our eye on the yen pairs for that. And we'll talk about how that's going to apply and what that will mean. Okay, so looking really quick here at the euro dollar, we see that it is still very much channeled right here. The euro dollar has just kind of been bumping around in this area, and it's not making too much headway either way. We had a nice little run down on some bad news on the euro, and then it's kind of recovered and retraced all the way back up, but it still is very much in this weekly channel, which is only about 130, 40 pips right around there, and it's just bouncing around in there. It's going to be kind of complicated to do too much until we get out of the channel. We've got to break that weekly high or that weekly low. It's got to move about 75 pips in either direction to really make that happen. As far as some short-term opportunities go that we might be able to capitalize on in this euro here, is just this very, very short-term channel that it's in right here. You can see that right about that high is about 39.15, and we've got some lows that are right around that I'd probably look for around 38.85, right in that general area. I'm looking at this ascending trend line. If that breaks, I think we've got a little bit of a movement there. It's got to get down about 15 or 20 pips probably, and it's going to consolidate through that area, I'm sure. But coming into the next hour, 2 hours, we should be able to get some sort of entry coming through this, and maybe ride this back down to the lows, which would give us a nice potential of about 60 pips to work with, or back up into these highs here, which gives us about 40 to 45 pips to work with if it breaks at 139.15. So that's going to be what we're going to keep our eye on. Right now, the markets are really just channeled, and they've really got to get out of this area before much can happen. So that's what we're left with. The markets are very, very temperamental, very difficult to deal with at this moment. There's just some very short-term movements that we've got to keep our eye on. Pound dollar is very much the same way. We tried to take a reversal on the pound dollar, and it decided to want to go just a little bit lower before making this big, nice run up. But the pound dollar is in a very, very similar position where it's got a nice ascending trend line, and it's got just a very small channel right here. It's still within those weekly highs and weekly lows, so that's something good to keep an eye on. But as far as just the short-term immediate movement, what to look for now, I'm probably going to look for a break of about 59.55 to take this pair down into the 5900 area, or a break of about 59.80 to take this up into about 160.25, somewhere in that general area, somewhere into those highs. You can see here, though, that the pair is still totally in a weekly channel, just like the euro is. It's not a very big one either. This one's a little bit bigger than the euro, but not really by much. They're all just kind of in that mid, 150, 140 pips. Pretty tough to do too much with these except for look for these little quick scalp opportunities. Overall, I think that these pairs are kind of topping out, and they're getting ready to make a big run down, and I think that's going to happen, and I'm definitely looking for that to happen. But as far as the rest of these pairs go, it's just going to be short-term activity right now and just waiting on that quick movement to happen. We see that that all the yen pairs are really just kind of staying consolidated as well. They're really just kind of going sideways, not doing too much. And the euro yen, again, is just a total stay out. It had a nice movement today with the euro dollar and a nice retracement, but the rest of it, just a choppy mess. So I'm not even going to talk about that one. Pound yen is basically in the same position, so there's not too much to do there. As far as just kind of waiting these out is really what we've got to do, and we've got some nice little opportunities. You can see this high right here on the pound yen, where it's currently at. It's just sitting right at this high, which is about, we could say about 121.85. And if the pound yen is able to kind of continue up through there, that might be good. And likewise, I think if we can get the pound yen kind of going below some of these levels, about 121.65, that could be interesting as well. And we've got a pretty nice little trend line to support that. And I'm only thinking pound pairs because the pound is moving decently well, but anything yen related is going to be tricky. So once again, we could have intervention today. The yen could, the Bank of Japan could jump in today and just change things all around. A break of this 121.65 and trend line could be a very nice little run down into this 12100, but probably the safest bet is to be buying yen pairs. So looking to kind of trade this through the break of this high of 121.85. The Aussie dollar is kind of all over the map as well. We see that this thing is taking a nice little jump down here, and I don't really think the Aussie dollar has too much that we can work with right now. It's kind of just bouncing up these levels, and it just doesn't look that good. I don't think there's too much to trade for the moment. There might be something on the break of this little descending trend line right there, but I think I might stay out of this pair for just a little bit. But look for all the typical setups. Just because I don't talk about a pair doesn't mean it can't be traded, but look for those typical setups. Here's something important to notice on gold. Gold has really broken an important level, and that was about 1695. It consolidated below 1695 for a couple of weeks, and it's just recently, I think as early as yesterday, broke above that 1695, and it's holding in there pretty well, about 1725 right now. And so you can see on this daily chart right here that it's broken this descending trend line, and it's broken that neckline right there. So gold should really have nowhere to head but up. And if that's the case, again, that's probably going to drive these pairs a little bit higher, and that could give us the opportunity there. And of course, that could give us the opportunity on the Aussie dollar as well to kind of trade through the breaks of some of these highs right here as well. So keep an eye on that. But for the most part, we're in channels. We've got to break these weekly highs or weekly lows before these markets are going to go anywhere and give us any kind of safe movement. And so it's just going to be all about really short-term scalps right now and finding kind of those quick runs that are 15, 20, 30 pips, and that should take us through those levels and get us where we need to go. So there's some good pips coming. We'll have more levels this afternoon for the Asian session and for the UK session as always. Thanks for being on, guys, and we'll see you in the chat.